And hello, everyone out there in this crazy YouTube world. I'm Dave Rothenberg, and this is Dave Rothenberg's Giants Obsession. I think we're all of the mindset that this season is not going to end in a playoff berth. The Giants have played 8 games. They sit here at 2-6. 9 games remain, and now the question would be, where does this season go? Does it spiral out of control, and you look for a new head coach and maybe GM? Do they fight their way into a respectable, 5 or 6 wins that you say there's a lot to build on? I see a future with the quarterback, and will they hang on to this coach and this GM? It remains to be seen. But these next 9 games, even though they won't be playoff worthy games, these next 9 games matter quite a bit as far as the future of this organization. So what do we have to do today? It's a Wednesday, middle of the afternoon. A lot of you are taking time out of your busy schedules, and we certainly do appreciate that. Let me set the stage for you, let you know what's going on today. All right. So, of course, it's the Niners. Spread was interesting on this game. I would figure, knowing nothing, that the Niners would be, 5.5 point favorites. No, Niners, the number started at 3.5, is now down to 2.5. So the betting public is putting, or the sharps or whoever it is, but enough money is going on the Niners that the spread is coming down, and that number now sits here at 2.5. We got to get into the fantasy waiver wire pickups as we head to week 9. See, waiver wire is so important. You can really make some noise as far as this is concerned. And there's, right now, starting players in the league available. We'll run through that, maybe with a local field as well. Our new feature, we launched it last week. It failed. We'll go with it again this week, and I have confidence it hits. And if it hits, oh, baby, you will be wealthy. So that's the Thursday night parlay. We have a Mount Rushmore. I'm hesitant to let you know what it is right now because it's negative. It's not a positive thing. It's not Giants specific, although you could put Giants on this Mount Rushmore of negativity, and it would make sense. With the massive level of negativity, I think it goes even above and beyond the Giants. So Niners come to town. Better football team than the Giants. I think we all agree with that. Similar in the fact that they are ravaged by injuries, right? Offense, we don't know if Brock Purdy's going to be able to play. Now, Mac Jones has been efficient. We don't know if he's going to be able to play. George Kittle has missed a bulk of the season, went out in week 1, finally came back. He's now active and healthy. Ricky Pearsall, we don't know. He's their best receiver. If he's going to be able to play, the funny thing is, the one guy that you worry about the most as far as injuries with the Niners is concerned has been healthy all year. And yet everyone else has gone down injury-wise for this team. Christian McCaffrey is what makes this team go. So we will certainly analyze San Francisco. Fred Warner, he's out for the season. And they're a shell of themselves. That's the truth. They're very well coached. And that's the difference. And, I don't know. I'm leaning towards the fact that Brian Dable's not a great head coach because they continue to lose games that they should win. And, that kind of is the sign of what you're looking for to see in that coach. But what the Niners bring to the table is they get every ounce. They are, from top to bottom, just a top-notch, first-class organization. John Lynch is an elite general manager, decision maker as far as what pieces he's putting together on the field. Kyle Shanahan, as far as the X's and O's and putting guys in the right position. And he's an offensive mind, and he allows Robert Saleh, who as a head coach, not great, as a defensive mind, has been phenomenal. All right, we'll get to all the stuff we have to get to. We're going to hopefully find out some decent news on Bellinger and Flott and Holland and Adebo, but it doesn't sound very promising so far on Adebo. You want to get in touch, it's very easy on this YouTube chat. Comments, questions, away we go with that. The guys will pop on every, 10 to 12 minutes, and here's what we got. Here's what we have. Dave, answer this, and I will answer it. Now, sometimes Nico's not great at, figuring out what makes sense to bring on the air or not, but for the most part, we have Steve as that helper, and we can get that done. Also, I don't like this. I walk in today, and I'm met with, what are you dressing up as for Halloween on Friday? I was unaware that I had to dress up as I'm me. That's why I'm me. I didn't realize I have to dress up as anything. Like, no. What are you going to do? You want to wear a Giants helmet and some eye black? You want me to do the show in a Giants helmet? That's what they want? And then I don't know if what's happening. Nico shows me a photo of what he wants to dress up as. There's some older woman that's helping him get into his outfit. The whole thing was very, 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 very unsettling. I want to give a shout out again to the members. You can become a member of YouTube. It's not that expensive. It's really not. And then you get little extra features as far as this YouTube show is concerned. So let me read through the members just to give you a little love because we appreciate you guys. Cullum Dempsey, David Vigliata, Mike Abbott, Tucker Dorf. Okay. What is that name? I don't want to mispronounce it, but I can't really. I don't know. Something Dema. I apologize, Mr. and Mrs. Dema, but I can't read Nico's handwriting. Chris T, who doesn't want to be identified by last name. Tyler Sweeney, Mickey Harder, Luis Marconi, DePool 2017, and a special thanks to our fanatic level member, the great Bobby Buggs. So if you join, and when you join, we'll make sure to make mention of you, and there will be special features you can get throughout the duration of this YouTube show. On Twitter, and Friday, we're going to do this. On Twitter, you pose your question, a comment. We save some of them for Friday, and then the guys, as I'm dressed apparently ridiculously on Friday, will ask me some of these important rapid fire questions. I'm confused at this, and you know what? Let me save that. I'm going to make a note of it. All right, there we go. When Nico and Steve come on, I'm going to ask them this question. If you want your comments read out on air during the stream, at any point, there's something called a super chat, and then we instantly answer those questions during the live stream. And you can go on YouTube, like us, subscribe to us, and away you go with that. Follow us on all our socials, Instagram, TikTok, at DR Giants Obsession, on Twitter, at DRNYGO, and Spotify, of course, Dave Rothenberg's Giants Obsession. So I think we've pretty much covered what we wanted to cover, and now let's get back to the matter at hand, and that, of course, is the Giants. So I was mentioning at first glance, at first blush here, and that is, you would look at a team, like you look at the Titans and you want to see specific things. You're not going to the playoffs, but you'd like to see what is Cam Ward able to turn himself into. You look at the Jets and you say, how does the coach continue to keep this team afloat the final 9 games of the season, that being Aaron Glenn? Because I think, like with certain teams, there's different pieces, different things you'd like to see. Well, maybe you disagree. I've seen 5 games of Jackson Dart. I feel pretty confident he's going to be a very good, if not better, NFL quarterback. So what do I need to see now from the Giants? Well, I need to see how this coach handles the right quarterback, it seems like, and the decisions, I guess I should say, he makes during games. Because to be fair, I think you could say there's 3 games this year, or at least 2, that fall directly on the coaching staff. And that is the Cowboys game where they had the lead, late stages, gave it away. The Saints game where they had a 14-3 lead. And I know that part of the Saints loss, or a large portion of the Saints loss, is due to turning the ball over 5 consecutive possessions. But I think coaching staff has to take some blame for that, no? And then the one which was just outrageous was the Broncos loss. So I think you'd feel a lot different. They're 2-6. I think you'd feel a lot different if the Giants were 4-4 right now, or even 3-6, right? 3-5 right now. And certainly with an above 500 record, you'd feel very, very differently. Injuries, Giants have been ravaged. And that's the same thing of the team coming in this weekend. We mentioned the Niners have been also ravaged by injuries. So Adebo, sprained MCL. He's going to miss weeks. This is not a will he be back this week. He's going to miss weeks. And again, the weird thing about Paulson Adebo is you look at him and you say, yeah, he's okay. Like, hardly do you look at him and say, that's a great player. But the problem with losing a guy like Adebo is the drop-off from Adebo to whatever's next is massive. So I have no crazy thoughts that Paulson Adebo is a top 10 corner in this league, and you lose him and you lose Sauce Gardner, you lose, Patrick Surtain, which they did out in Denver anyway. But to lose him, and it means next man up, and the next man up is massively unimpressive for the Giants. So that's not great. You wait on Javon Holland. We're uncertain if he's going to play. I had this idea that Tyler Newman was going to really come into his own in year number 2, and that has not been the case. Ordinarily, you wouldn't think that Daniel Bellinger's loss would be that big, but you don't really have any weapons at all. Right? I mean, I mean, now you've lost Scadaboo. He's done for the season. You know what's also weird? Let me get back to Bellinger in a moment. The thing that's so strange about Cam Scadaboo, the injury was just gruesome, right? I mean, broken leg, dislocated ankle, had to have surgery that night, immediately that night. And they were concerned about infections. They have to clean that whole thing out, make sure it doesn't get infected, put it back in place. Apparently, more surgeries will happen. And then there's reports today, don't worry, he'll be fine by OTAs. Like by the time the Giants take the field in spring, he'll be active, he'll be fine, and he'll be at 100%. So it goes to show you, even if it's severe injury nowadays, they can fix this thing up. Did you hear this story, by the way, about Big Dom? Big Dom. Oh, Big Dom. What a great guy. Big Dom. He goes to the hospital and he brings, hoagies and he brings heroes and he brings pizza. Oh, what? All right. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever had surgery? Yeah. Okay. When you have surgery, they don't let you eat before surgery. In fact, you're supposed to go like 24 hours or 12 hours without putting any food in your mouth. So here's how I envision this. Big Dom wanted pizza. And Big Dom said to himself, he felt guilty because he's a heavyset guy, right? And he said, I want pizza, but I don't want to get pizza under the guise that I'm getting myself pizza. So I'll do it and drop it off at the hospital where Scadaboo's going to be, and maybe he'll let me have some of his pizza. Cam, here's pizza. And heroes, would you like some of it? Well, I can't eat. Why? I'm going into surgery. Oh, that's unfortunate. And this guy's gobbling down pizza like he's a cookie monster. Or he brings it so after surgery, he can have pizza. Have you ever had surgery? You wake up from surgery and they're like, hey, here's a little cup of apple juice. You're not having pizza. So this idea that Big Dom is some hero because he's delivering pizza and sandwiches is ridiculous. But I digress. Where do I digress back to? All right. Daniel Bellinger. So ordinarily you'd look at Bellinger and say, all right, he's the second tight end on a team that's not really, littered with talent at tight end. Is it that big of a loss? Yeah, because you don't have anybody. It's Theo Johnson. It's Slayton, who stinks. It's Lil Jordan Humphrey. It's Wan'Dale Robinson. It's Tyrone Tracy. This is not, you're not writing home about, as I overlook the mountains here in wherever I am at war, you send back to your girlfriend. And I'm thinking about the Giants' talent on offense. And oh my goodness, Lil Jordan Humphrey and Wan'Dale Robinson. No, they don't really have a lot of talent on offense. So you wouldn't think Bellinger is a massive loss, but it's a massive loss for what they don't have to begin with. And you could argue that Cordell Flott, who's suffering from a concussion, is the Giants' most consistent player in that secondary. And we don't know if he's going to play. So you may not have 3 starters in the secondary. And then Art Green, who nobody's ever heard of, gets hurt, and he had to leave the game. So Flott, Holland, Adebo all might miss the game against the Niners. What does that mean? Your front four has to get pressure. And I don't know if you heard this, but our friend who's been on this show before, who's excellent, Carl Banks, he went after Dexter Lawrence. He said that he should be embarrassed. He said he's not playing the way that he typically plays, and he has to bring it. And we'll see if that lights a fire under him. For me to say it is one thing, right? For Carl Banks, an all-time legendary Giant, who's now the color analyst on radio for these games, to say it, who's considered to be one of the greats, like borderline Hall of Famer Carl Banks, to call you out, so you're just not the same player anymore. They bring in the other guys, DJ Davison, right? They bring in Nunez Roches. They bring in those guys, and they're better right now than you. That is a big time hit from Carl Banks to Dexter Lawrence. So we'll see. I mean, it would be amazing if it worked. All right, let's bring in Nico and Steve. Guys, pop on here and let me see your pretty faces. So, Nico, what do you plan to show up at?
That's a
Friday?
Surprise, Dave. I showed you at it in conference.
Yeah, no, but what I don't appreciate, how did I get lumped in it? I think it's great that you guys, you want to be involved. You're going to dress up, and that's really adorable. But why do I have to do it?
You're part of the crew.
You're part. Yeah, you are the guy.
So here's the thing, and I'm glad you made mention of this. Okay, I'm part of the crew, right? Are you part of the crew, Steve?
I guess so.
Yeah. Okay. Is Nico part of the crew?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Is Joe
You are
part
more
of
of
the
the crew.
We have someone else
Joe is
part
part
of
of
the
the
crew.
crew.
Joe is part of the crew.
Joe's also okay. So why do I have to do it, and you do it, and he does it, and Joe doesn't have to do it? What? How does that seem fair?
Because Joe has a tendency to shy away from fun.
So you think Joe is a
Anti-fun.
of fun? He saps fun out of the hands of children.
We had a great social media video go out, I think yesterday, right? And
Mhm.
we tried to get Joe to do it. You know, as a question for the for kind of the DRGO crew, and he didn't want to do it. So that was one of the things that.
So you think Joe is anti-fun?
I think is that the only
and
way
you know
that,
what? It's fair you say that, because every time I mention slapping you in the face,
Doesn't want to do it.
the first person to say, we're not slapping anybody in any face, it's not happening, it is Joe. It is Joe.
I think that you should convince him. You guys should do
I have
a
that kind of power.
But you're on
you guys should do
camera,
a
Dave.
couple
You gotta be.
costume, a tandem costume.
What do you want me to dress as? Dolly Parton?
Please, oh
Yeah.
please,
Yeah, that's what you
Please,
want.
yeah.
You want just an enormous chested Rothenberg to be here on set breaking down football.
Yes.
That's what you want. Well, I'm not going to give you that. I'm not going to give you that. I won't
Gotta do
it.
something, Dave.
something.
All right, I'll do something. But your idea of me wearing a football helmet to do this
No,
show,
no,
like
no.
swelter.
I mean, I was just thinking, mine is going to be hot too. I don't
By
want
the
to.
way,
I want to surprise the people, but mine's going to be hot too.
Steve, you bring in like pounds of fish. You're trying to pawn fish off on me.
Well, my dad went to Rhode Island,
Uh-huh.
bought a bunch of blackfish, and he was like, "You got to tell your bosses and let them know if they want it."
First of all, I'm nobody's boss. No, if
You're-
you look at Joe as a boss, fine. I am
Joe is my
nobody's boss.
Well,
I'm
he
as
was. He also said
immature
you.
and childlike as anybody. So you brought some fish. You gave it to
Yeah.
Joe. Tell your dad thanks, but I mean, I'm not going to eat it because now I have
Why?
to. I'll tell you why. Because now I have to start cooking it.
You don't
And
cook,
no, I don't cook. No,
and no one in your house cooks.
my wife cooks. But could you imagine how that? You don't know. You're not married. You bring home a big thing of fish. You go, here, make this for dinner. That doesn't go over well.
It's not going to go over well at
No.
all.
You
wouldn't
find
go
a
over well
way,
at all.
maybe. I don't know.
No, trust me, it wouldn't go over well. All right, so I thank your dad for me. I know he's watching, so thank you. But
He just commented black gold.
all right, listen, Joe's got it for all of us. Joe's capable.
Joe's gonna give a review.
What Joe lacks in Halloween attire, he makes up for in cooking abilities.
Okay.
So what do we have questions and comments today, guys?
We have a comment coming in from Patriot 218S. How many defensive players do you think the Giants will draft in April? Asking for a friend.
I mean, so that's always difficult. Here's the thing. They need everything, right? You look at this team. You don't need quarterback. You probably would say you don't need running back. Do the Giants need receiver? Yes. The Giants need offensive line? Yes. Would you be horrified by taking another tight end? Would you be okay with a tight end? Yes. Do you need, defensive tackle? Yes. Do you need a linebacker? Yes. Do you need corners? Yep. Do you need safety? Yeah. So I think now that's also as troubling and concerning as that might be. I think it's also at least you have the quarterback. So if whatever you pick, say the Giants pick 7 and you want a receiver, but you want a corner, but you want the defensive tackle, like you can now just kind of take the best player available. You don't have to force that. Like the Jets need a quarterback. No matter what happens, the Jets are going to, right? But Steve, you know this, they have to take a quarterback.
I know.
So if they pick 3rd or 5th or 7th, they have to take a quarterback.
We need to
That's
ruin someone else's career. I'm so excited.
Well, we'll get to that a little bit later on when we
Yes,
get
we
around
will.
Rushmore. But the Giants don't have to do anything. They could go with that philosophy of best player available. So I don't mean to cop out on your question. And they're going to add defense. Do they look at this like, hey, we can add a real defensive tackle in free agency, and that frees us up to do something else? They need to add pieces defensively. They need a defensive tackle, at least one. They could use linebackers, and they need secondary help. So it will look different heading into next year. How much of that they address in the draft, I can't sit here, 7 months in advance and give that to you right now.
We have one more coming in from good friend of the show, the David Carlson. Can we get some artwork or hell just a picture on one of those walls in Nico and Steve's dungeon? How aren't they depressed all the time?
Well, you say, how aren't they depressed? They are. In fact, we're having to pay for Nico to go through therapy, and Steve also. is very depressed, as you can see. I mean, looking, but no, I'm in all sincerity. How about some nice stuff behind you? We could paint some walls. We could put some artwork. I could do some doodling.
Can we
I mean,
just get like just pictures of you behind us?
Weird. It would be weird if you had just pictures of me behind you.
I would love to come in the morning and see
Just
pictures of you.
Dave
Just Dave.
everywhere.
That'd be very strange.
Maybe.
So what else? Is there anything else I need to tackle? I read everyone's name. Oh, look at this. Kevin Davis, 4351. Shane should be aggressive and trade for Judy. Then in the spring, trade out of the first round to acquire more picks to fill out needs and depth. All right. So firstly, we thank you for contributing via the super chat. And then your questions get read immediately. You pick your chin up a little bit, Nico. You're below the question. There you go. That is Nico. So I like Jerry Judy. I'm not looking towards moving out of the first round. I think that would be silly. But the hope for me is that the Giants have a pick early enough that there's a quarterback that somebody wants. And I'll make up a number. The Giants pick 9th. And there's a quarterback that teams want at 9. Well, now they pick 15. Now you move back to 15. And then you get another pick. And then at 15, maybe you move back to 18 and you stockpile that way. I don't necessarily cut and dry. I want to just say like Giants pick 9, get out of the first round and stockpile picks. I mean, you could, but I think you do want to try to get that high-end talent as well. All right. So thank you to your pretty faces. Appreciate you guys. And we will bring you back in a few moments to ask some more questions. Again, if you want to ask questions, comments, all that kind of stuff, just put it on the side in the chat of YouTube. They're always monitoring that. On Twitter at DRNYGO. And of course, on YouTube, like us and subscribe. All right. The Niners offense. So statistically, not a great scoring offense. But again, I think you need to understand that this is a team that has been ravaged by injuries. Juwan Jennings has been hurt. All right, I don't know, you want to consider him their third receiver. And this is a team, even with all the injuries they've suffered, they still win games. Like they're still sitting here at 5-3 after getting beaten up down in Houston last week. But Pearsall has missed a lot of time, and Kittle has missed a lot of time, and Kendrick Bourne, who's like a journeyman receiver right now, has been asked to do real things for that offense. And it all goes with Christian McCaffrey. Like you could almost bank this game, the Giants will go as far as their defense shuts down Christian McCaffrey. So statistically, not a great scoring offense. And also, by the way, and I think he's played well for the most part, they haven't had their starting quarterback for much of the season. Brock Purdy's been out as well. And you've had to have Mac Jones as that guy. So this is not what you expected to see. But in fairness, they've been pretty good as far as just being capable. Do you guys have a graphic for this that you could throw up and we can kind of show people the Niners offense and their rankings to kind of make it make sense? If you do,
we only have the defensive ranking graphic.
Okay. So, that's fine. It just to let you know, it does say on my sheet 49ers offensive rankings, but that's fine. So they sit here at 5-3. I know we have their schedule from the season. So if you could bring that up, we can kind of walk through what the Niners have done so far this season. So they beat Seattle. They beat the Saints, and narrowly. Saints are not a bad football team. Look at those first 3 games. They won by 4, 5, and 1. They got very fortunate to beat the Cardinals. So they won their first 3 games by a combined 10 points. That's good living, right? Then they go to Jacksonville, lose to the Jaguars. Rams on a Thursday night short week on the road, miraculously beat the Rams. Tampa, they lose that game by 5. They beat the Falcons on a Monday night game, I believe, and they Sunday night, did a really good job of shutting down Bijan. And then it looked like it was a close game, 26-21, didn't feel that close. They kind of got taken behind the woodshed a little bit against the Texans. Texans played I thought their best game of the season, but the Niners are a good football team. They're 5-3, and they're talented. They're well coached, and it will hardly be an easy game for the Giants on Sunday at 1:00. You know what I think we do now? I think because we'll get to questions, comments a little bit later, since we just kind of did do that. The Thursday night parlay, guys. This brings me great excitement, massive excitement. You have a chance to win real money, like you take 100, not even 100, because 100 is a lot of money. You take, I don't know, $50, and you're looking at winning what, 450 or $448 or $447. That's real money off $50. So here's what I give you Thursday down in Miami. Now, this is assuming that Lamar Jackson's going to play. We've danced this dance already, right? We thought he was going to play last week. Then they come out with this. Oh, by the way, Lamar Jackson's not going to go. But I assume he's going to be able to give it a go in this game. Lamar Jackson, anytime touchdown. Now, just for the record, that's not a passing touchdown. That's a rushing touchdown. Lamar takes one into the end zone on the ground. Okay, that's for starters. That'll get you plus 160. Mark Andrews, the over-under for his receiving yards is 27.5. Go over. I love the over on that number. He and Lamar have a special connection. Now, he started at the season slow, and I don't know if part of the reason behind that was just, what happened last year to him in the postseason where he fell apart, dropped that pass against the Bills. They lost that game. But we're talking about 30. You can't see 3 for 33 yards for Mark Andrews, so go over on that number. Tua, I look at this as a high-scoring game. I think the Ravens, with a healthy Lamar Jackson, know they need to score points. And on the flip side, Miami knows every week they need to score points because their defense was good this past week against Atlanta, but for the most part, it's not a good defense. So Tua needs to put points on the board. His over-under passing number is 216.5. I would go on the over. That's a minus 114. And Baltimore is a 7.5-point favorite. You take the Ravens just on the money line. I'm not laying the number, just on the money line to win the game outright, and you're at minus 450 for that. You combine all those for a $100 bet, you're plus 894. So for a $100 bet, you'd get back $994, right? 894 profit, the 100 you put in, and away you go. Let me recap them again. Lamar on the ground, touchdown at any point, plus 160. Mark Andrews, receiving yards, over 27.5. Tua, over 216.5 passing yards, and the Ravens on the money line. I think you'll be in really, really good standing if you take those. And again, I don't think it misses, but in the off chance it does miss, okay, we're giving you big numbers here. So even, if you think about this, if we hit 2 of 10 of these parlays, you're winning money, right? Let's just say, for argument's sake, that you're putting down $100 for every parlay that we're doing, and say the odds are somewhere in that range of plus 894. So let's just say, okay, so you bet 8 and you lose them all. You're minus $800. That's a pretty penny. But like I said, we're hitting 2 out of 10, right? In this scenario, now you hit the 9th one. Now you're plus $94 because you've hit that. And now you bet the 10th one at plus 894. So really what we need to do to have good success here is hit 2 out of 10. I think we're going to wind up doing that. So stick with me. Be patient. The Niners defense. Now, the Niners defense is a mess. They're all banged up. Okay. Their front line is banged up. Their secondary is banged up. And their best player on defense by a mile is Fred Warner, and he's out for the season. So let me run through some of these numbers and stats. And again, they're kind of that bend but don't break team that you see where they don't do anything great, but they're good enough and they're well coached enough that they're able to get by. And that's, Robert Saleh is a really smart defensive mind. We saw them beat the Rams. They had no business beating the Rams. They beat the Rams. They beat the Falcons. Guys that, 3rd, 4th, 7th round picks, undrafted free agents make plays for them. It's very impressive. Here's some of the numbers for the Niners heading to this game against the Giants. Total defense. And again, it's not impressive, 22. But keep in mind, as we go down the list here, what is impressive, and I'll explain it. Passing defense, not great, 22. So I don't know if the Giants, with their passing attack or lack thereof, puts fear into what the Niners are trying to do, but it's kind of like that immovable object, right? Battling in each way. Giants don't really have much of an offense, and they don't move the ball great, but the Niners don't really stop the pass. So something's got to give. Rushing defense, right in the middle, dead in the middle, 15th in the NFL. But here's where they make their mark. Scoring defense and red zone defense, 8th in both. And that's impressive because they'll let you move the football. All right, you can go from your 27 to their 30. But once you get, close to that end zone, that's where their defense tightens up. That's what a good team does. You don't have to have an elite defense. You have to have an elite defense at coming up with the stop at the right time, and that's what the Niners have. So, how many points can you put up? With Scatterbo, and we'll get to Scatterbo in a moment. I have a little stat, and I want to show you some stuff about Cam Scatterbo. When you look at what he was able to provide, and he's such a good goal line back, and Jackson Dart, the way he kind of adds this different dynamic down near the goal line, the Giants, red zone offense, which had been brutal for the last couple of years, is much improved. So it'll be interesting to see if they get down into the red zone, if the Giants can be creative enough to find ways into pay dirt, or if this really efficient Niners scoring defense and red zone defense, they're 8th on both. Now, where they're not great also is third down. They check in at 19th. So that's just kind of where we are as far as the Niners are concerned. We do have something I want to show you about Cam Scatterbo. He underwent surgery, his initial surgery on Sunday. They cleaned out the wound. The infection is something that's a real concern, but they said he came through with flying colors. So it's a dislocated ankle, a deltoid ligament rupture, and a fibular fracture. That is brutal. And again, the amazing thing about all of it, well, two things. To have that reaction, like if I put the water in the shower on too hot, I'm screaming. It's like, oh, right, it's too. This guy dislocated the ankle, deltoid ligament rupture, and a fibula fracture, and he's butting heads with Jackson Dart and giving fives. Like, it's wild to think the pain tolerance. Now, maybe he's in shock, but it's wild to think about the pain tolerance. And you would have had no idea. If you didn't know how bad it was, you would have had no idea. But you saw the Giants' reactions and the announcers' reactions and all of it. It was really, really unsightly. It was a really grim scene there in Philadelphia on Sunday. So what else do we have? We do have more. We gave you the parlay. We gave you the Niners defense. Now we will help you. Let me help you with your fantasy football team. Okay. Waivers is a strength of mine. It really is. And you have buys this week. So let me quickly bring up the teams on bye this week, because this is where, you have to be a smart fantasy football manager and kind of navigate the ways. So the Browns are on bye. The Jets are on bye. The Eagles are on bye. And that's a big one because that's Saquon. It's Hurts. I know A.J. Brown already was out. It's Devontae Smith. It's Dallas Goedert. So real players. And the Buccaneers as well. I mean, that's Baker Mayfield. That's Ibuka. That's another week of Rashad White or Bucky Irving. So there's a lot of real talent. Breece Hall is out this week. Quinshon Judkins is out this week. Jerry Jeudy's out this week. Fannon's out this week. Who else? David Njoku's out this week. So there are a lot, even though you look at the Jets and the Browns, you're like, they're not good teams. They're not. Garrett Wilson, who's been hurt, is definitively out. Justin Fields, who had a massive game. I told you Justin Fields last week. I had a feeling he was going to have a big game if they decided to go with him. Aaron Glenn did. Well, because he had no choice, right? Tyrod Taylor was out with the knee. But there's a lot of guys out this week. So if you have a Jalen Hurts, what quarterbacks do you turn to? So Joe Flacco, I can't believe we're sitting here. It feels like, what year are we in, 2025? I feel like we're in like 2015. It's like, all right, play Joe Flacco this week. But Joe Flacco, it's amazing, just continues to be a guy that you look at. Now, can I tell you that he's going to go for 3 touchdowns and 350 yards? No. But do I feel pretty confident saying that with those weapons, you're going to get 2 touchdowns and 250 yards against the Bears defense? Yeah. And what does that do? I mean, 2 touchdowns, 250 yards. That's what, if you're in a 6-point per touchdown league for your quarterback, that's 12, say another 7. You're looking at upwards of 19 points for a guy who's available all over the place on the waiver wire. So let me start there. Flacco, nice addition. Sam Darnold is available in over like 50% of the leagues out there. They play Washington. It's a primetime game. The Seahawks, mind you, have won 9 consecutive games on the road. Smith and Jigba right now is the number 1 wideout in all of fantasy football. Cooper Kupp on the other side, right? I mean, Seattle's going to score points. Darnold's playing at a very high level. I like him as well. And this is one, I don't think you can play J.J. McCarthy, but it's not who does Dave say you have to play. We'll do that on Friday. It's who does Dave say you need to add to your team. So Carson Wentz is out for the year. There is no more Carson Wentz. Doesn't exist on Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy, they've invested a lot in him. And much like Cincinnati, you look at Minnesota and you say, all right, so they have a top 3 receiver in all of football in Justin Jefferson. They have another stud receiver in Jordan Addison. They have a really good tight end in TJ Hawkinson. And they have kind of a dual threat, Jones and Mason at running back. That is a good spot. Now, he's played 2 games in his NFL career. That's it. Did all last year for McCarthy, didn't play. All this year, or half of this year so far, right? We're 8 games in to a 17-game schedule. He's played 2 games. And of those 2 games, he's played 1 good quarter against the Bears. 1. That's it. So it's unknown what he's going to be. And that's why I can't in good faith tell you, sure, start him against the Lions this week. But what I can tell you is pick him up, stash him, and he might be playable as you hit the second half of your season. Tyrone Tracy. How often can you get a non-quarterback in fantasy football who's a starter who's available right now? Right? There's not a lot of, in a deeper league, there's not a lot of receivers that are available. There's not a lot of running backs that are available. There's not a lot of tight ends that start that are available. I can give you a starter, and that is Tyrone Tracy. Why? Because of the injury to Scadaboo. So Tracy's available, and do I think he's a great running back? No, but I think he's a serviceable enough running back that you're going to get 16 carries for 70 yards and a couple of catches. Because remember, he was a receiver at Purdue, couple of catches, and you'll wind up with 10, 12 points. Maybe he'll even score a touchdown from, and I'm not saying he's your number 1 running back, but you want him on your roster. And I would even say if you have a Breece Hall, if you have a Judkins, if you have a Rashad White or Bucky Irving on bye, you can feel confident playing Tyrone Tracy this week. Another one I want you to keep an eye on, and again, I don't know that I'd play him right now, but you want to get him right now, and that's Kareem Hunt. Late stages of that football game on Monday night between Kansas City and Washington, you saw an injury to Pacheco. He went off. The knee was bothering him. Apparently, that's still flared up a little bit this week. Well, if he doesn't go, Kareem Hunt is the guy. And even when he's not the guy, Kareem Hunt put up a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown this week. And the next one is not going to play this week. So you wouldn't pick him up and play him, but you would pick him up and stash him. So the trade deadline is next Tuesday, November the 4th. All right, make this make sense. What exactly, Dave, are you talking about? The NFL trade deadline is next Tuesday. Breece Hall is a free agent at the end of the year. The Jets are going nowhere. Do they want to keep Breece Hall and build around him for the future? Because if you keep Breece Hall, you envision you're going to sign him. And then Isaiah Davis would not be a great addition. However, if you move on from Breece Hall, like I think there's a very good chance they do, who becomes your starting running back? Braylon Allen is out, and Breece Hall will be gone, and they're a run-first team. It becomes Isaiah Davis. So, again, if you have an open spot and you can afford to carry Isaiah Davis for a couple weeks until he becomes a viable running back in fantasy football, I highly, highly suggest it. All right, so there's that. We'll do our Mount Rushmore in a couple of moments, but I want to bring the guys on again and see where we're at as far as the questions and the comments, and if they think that my analysis was really spot on right there. What do you think?
Enjoyed it.
Yeah, you thought that was nice?
Yeah, I picked up Tyrone Tracy.
Based off of my
that's what Steve does basically every Wednesday.
Wednesday.
As you're doing the waiver
let me
ads.
see if I understand this. Let me bring people behind the scenes. So I do my radio show, and I'll typically get a text from Steve and or Nico. Need your fantasy waiver wire ads. And then I send you my waiver wire ads. And as I send them to you and you start to build out a graphic or do whatever it is that you do, you also simultaneously
on the
pick
show
those guys up on your fantasy roster.
Every single week, Steve is adding people from your recommendations every single week.
So let's go right to the horse's mouth. How's it working?
It's been okay. I added.
That's not a blessing.
Well, I just picked up Tyrone Tracy.
You know what? A more excitable response. Mary Todd Lincoln. How was the show? Yeah, it was okay. It was even the shooting of your husband. Yeah, again, it was okay. That's the best you can give me. I sit here. I pour my heart into these waiver wire ads, and the best you
I
can
did
give
pick up
me
Gatson.
How'd that work out for you?
He was cooking.
Yeah,
he was great. I picked him up one of my leagues.
I think I've only done a couple that you've recommended. I've done Kareem Hunt. I think you mentioned him last week too, and I did.
Did you play Kareem Hunt last week when he had 2 touchdowns?
I sat him, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I did. Because I'm awful this week.
So whose fault is that?
And I picked up Manungai, who I'm going to be honest with you, wasn't great.
What did I say about Manungai?
You said
I said he shares time.
yeah,
He becomes the guy. He's someone that you can play.
yeah. I had no other
But
choice.
he's not in that situation yet.
I had a David Montgomery.
All right, so you're the guy I'm buying. You were desperate for a running back.
I had to use him.
All right. But do we have questions, comments that you would like to ask me?
Yeah,
Throw
we
my
have a
way.
bunch.
Yeah, I'd like that because right now I'm not happy with either of you guys.
I'm giving you
No,
props.
it's fine. Whatever.
You have good picks. From Elizabeth Contreras, 9687. How many wins do you see in the remaining schedule?
Well, let me bring up the remaining schedule. So I think the Giants have. Well, I know it's the Niners this week, right? And then it's the Bears. But let me bring it up. And then I think it's the Packers and the Lions. That's all I remember as far as in order. All right. So it's the Niners. I'm gonna write down realistically. I think that's a winnable game. I do. Niners is 1, and I don't say they win it, but I think they could win it. That's where we'll play the could win game. 1 at the Bears, I think is 2. Home to the Packers, I say no. At the Lions, no. At New England, no. Home to Washington, I say possible. Home to Minnesota, I'm going to say possible. At the Raiders, I'm going to say possible. And home to Dallas. So they won't get 6 more, but I think it's this. Like they could beat San Francisco, but they could easily lose.
When I said that last week, I was like put on like on a watch list for saying that we have.
Well, let me ask you a question. What's the name of the show?
Dave Rothenberg Giants.
Okay. If this is Nico, whatever the hell your last name is, a Giants obsession, then we talk a little differently.
Sure.
All right. But on my show, we treat me with respect.
Gotcha.
So the Niners, and the Niners are also a mess. They're so banged up right now. At Chicago, I mean, I'm sorry. I've seen enough. Caleb Williams is not the guy. He is not great. Packers, Lions, they're not winning those games. At New England, not winning that game. Home to Washington, and they probably won't, right? I'm sure Washington will be favored, but we don't know the status of Jaden Daniels. Terry McLaurin has been banged up all year long. Home to Minnesota, I expected when the schedule came out, Minnesota was going to be a team that you'd like, oh, God. And you don't feel like that at all. They're a very underwhelming team. At the Raiders, they stink. Geno Smith has regressed. He's not really playable right now. And then home to Dallas. So do I think they get 6? No. And can you imagine the Giants won 6 of their final 9? We talk about this as an 8-win team. We would do backflips. That's not going to happen. But when I look at those games, how many could they win? They could win 6. How many will they win? They'll probably win another 2 or 3. Would be my long-winded answer to what I thought was a pretty good question.
This is a fantasy waiver ad question from David Carlson. Another fantasy waiver ad to keep an eye on. Tank Bigsby. Saquon is dealing with a groin injury, and Tank is the clear backup and looked great last week. I thought that you were going to put him on this week, but I don't know if he's available in most leagues.
Well, he might be, and they did acquire him from Jacksonville. It was going to be Shipley. Now they have Bigsby. He ran for over 100 yards against the Giants, and it was the guy that picked up that 2nd and 31, which is an epic level of embarrassment. Yeah, I mean, listen, if Bigsby is available in your league, I'm not opposed to getting him. Saquon, he said he's fine, and it's a non-issue. They're also on bye this week, so you could pick him up and stash him and feel good about it. But if Saquon is not banged up and going to miss time, then Bigsby's not really a guy that you would consider playing.
Yeah. From our fanatic level tier member Bobby Bugs, how much does the eye test account for your opinion of Brian Daboll over the last 9 games, given the difficulty of the schedule?
A lot. People ask me all the time, and I've said on this show, my other show, that I am not right now willing to tell you he should be back or he shouldn't. I'm leaning towards I'd move on, but these 9 games are massive. So you have some winnable games. I know it's a tough schedule, but you've also won some games nobody expected. Nobody thought they'd beat the Eagles. Nobody thought they'd beat the Chargers. Remember when the Chargers came in here? That was like the hot pick of the NFL at that moment. Who's the best team in football? If you did your Mount Rushmore that week of like, who are the best teams in the NFL? The Chargers were on that list. So the Giants hosted the Chargers. In the first half, your best offensive player you knew was now gone for the rest of the season, but Dart played at such a high level that they were able to get that win. So again, I don't need to see wins. I'd like to see some. I want to see competence. I want to see growth from the quarterback. And I want to watch the Giants and think to myself, they're on even footing with other teams around the NFL as far as coaching is concerned. Because there's oftentimes that I watch this and I think the defensive coordinator is not very good. The head coach seems to get crazy and overwhelmed at times, and they continue to lose the same way over and over. And that's not the sign of good coaching. I mean, there was a moment against Philadelphia where they did that tush push, and it was a fumble. And I know it was a fumble, and you know it was a fumble, and it was clearly a fumble, guys, right? But The official said no fumble, whistle was blown. We told the Giants that progress was stopped. The official took the microphone and said, we already explained to the Giants that the progress was stopped and you can't review it. And what does Brian Dable do? He doesn't care. He reviews it anyway.
He still challenges the play.
He challenges it anyway. So they tell you, hey, you have no chance of winning this challenge. And you know what he decided at that moment? Let's challenge anyway. So that's really kind of mind-boggling.
They tried to figure out a thing on the play to challenge, and
it was ridiculous. And then he said post-game, well, my guys upstairs told no, that makes zero sense. So let me go back to the original question. How important are these final 9 games for Brian Dable? In my mind, massively important. The owner told you, I need to see progress, and he said, and he spelled it out with wins. Well, they had 3 last year. If they have 4 this year, that's not really progress. If they have 5 this year, that's not really progress. You need to win. I would say he's got to get to at least 6, if not 7. At least 6, if not 7. What else you got?
We have one more, and this is something that I'm kind of nervous about because this is one of the Giants jerseys I own. David Lemicki 1048 says, what would you trade Kayvon for? First, second round pick?
Well, I got news for you, Nico. Whether that jersey becomes irrelevant now or at this time next year, it's not going to happen. I mean, he is not. They didn't draft Abdul Carter and have Brian Burns on either side for Kayvon Thibodeau to be a long tenured Giant.
It happens all the time with all my sports teams. Every time I get a jersey, they're gone in the next 2 years. And I make sure that it doesn't happen, and it always somehow ends up happening.
Well, you should have gotten an Andrew Thomas jersey then, right? I mean,
he's always hurt.
Or now I think you're pretty. Wait, but he's still on the team. Now I think you get yourself a Dart jersey.
Yeah. I thought that of Daniel Jones when we won a playoff game. That didn't work out.
Yeah, it's not always going to work out, but I think Dart is pretty safe right now. Or Scadaboo is going to be here for an extended period of time. First round pick? No, you're not going to get a first round pick. I would trade him tomorrow if I get a first round pick for Kayvon Thibodeau. You'd probably trade him tomorrow if you get a second round pick for him. They're not going to trade him. Unless you get bowled over. And I was reading, was it New England that's inquiring about him, that they're really interested in Kayvon Thibodeau? Here's the thing. He's going to be here for the remainder of this year. And remember, the Giants are trying to win games. This is not let's punt, let's wind up with the 3rd pick, let's stockpile picks. This regime is trying to win games. I don't think you trade guys like Kayvon Thibodeau with the idea that you're going to get better if you move on from him. So if they trade him, if they get overwhelmed and trade him, fine. But he's going to be, I would think, for the rest of the season, and he's under contract for next season. So why would they picked up his 5th-year option? Why would you trade him now? Right now, if you get to the trade deadline next year, and God forbid the Giants are sitting here at 2-7 again, and that's the ship has sailed, then at that point, I think you trade him. But unless you get overwhelmed, I wouldn't even consider trading him. Anything else? Where's the Moloko Velocet? He's not here today?
The Moloko Velocet is not here today. I haven't seen a comment.
Oh, that's unbelievable. All right, that's
but
what you have for now?
I do want to say one more thing. If you are a member and in the chat, we pinned a little comment before. Try out the new Dave emojis. We have the angry Dave and the sad Dave emojis that we made.
What is that? I don't even know anything about this.
Yeah, I know.
What is that about?
So
I didn't sign off on this.
Yeah, I made
What do you mean, yeah? I did not. Nobody told me there's going to be angry Dave and sad Dave emojis.
There are going to be angry Dave and sad Dave emojis that some of our members can throw in the chat.
So let me see if I understand this. You can have access to angry and sad Dave emojis if you're a member of our channel.
And new ones coming soon. We're gonna put some happy ones.
I got to talk to management. I didn't know about this. I didn't sign off on
They're
this.
good ones too. You'll find
any of this.
You'll find them really funny. They're good.
Oh, great! I'm sure. You know what? Why is it always at my expense? Joe won't even dress up for Halloween. Do you know what you're dressing up as a Halloween, Steve?
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me, but you know.
Oh yeah, I know.
Is it a blackfish?
No,
no.
I should. Maybe a fisherman costume.
Yeah, we'll put you like a big hook in your mouth.
Or like my dad's outfit on.
We'll reel you on in. All right, good job. Appreciate it, guys. All right, so now I want to get to the Mount Rushmore that I promised you, and I haven't told you what it is going to be yet. But it's a good one. The Mount Rushmore of NFL draft busts. The Mount Rushmore of NFL draft busts. Well, bring it up. We start out with someone. You put them all right up. I thought you systematically run them. There you go. Sure, you're so busy making emojis of me that you don't put those down the right way. All right. So we start out with is that Ralph Macchio in the Karate Kid? No, that's Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson, a couple years back, was the 2nd pick of the draft and fell flat on his face. So much so that Jets players wore the backup quarterback's T-shirt as they were boarding a plane to Miami. We want Mike White, Zach Wilson, an all-time. And I know it's a recent one, and you say there's recency bias. He was the second pick in the draft. Zach Wilson goes down as our Mount Rushmore of draft busts. All right, that's one. Number two, and I like this guy now, and I actually feel sorry for him because I've heard him speak, and it was either him or Peyton Manning. And you think the Colts made the right decision taking Peyton Manning? Well, Ryan Leaf went 2, and Ryan Leaf was awful. He then had some life. It feels like he's rebounded and he's a capable, good man now, which I'm pleased about. But boy, oh boy, second pick of the draft. You go second to Peyton Manning. That is brutal. So Ryan Leaf has to be up there. The next one you're going to see a photo of, and you're like, who's that nice looking fella? Good sharp haircut, nice teeth, pretty smile. That's Andre Bruce. Now, because we do what we do, we know who he is. Nico's like, who's Andre Bruce? So Andre Bruce, back in 1990, I believe, was the first pick of the entire draft by the Atlanta Falcons. And you wonder why the Falcons were not a good team for much of the 90s, because they spent the top overall selection on a guy that at best was poor. At best, he was just not a good player, and he was the top overall selection. And now we round out our Mount Rushmore with maybe the biggest bust in NFL history, and that's Jamarcus Russell. Remember when the Raiders were, wow, oh, he can throw it 95 yards in the air. The problem was, and was, he couldn't throw the ball to anybody. He was awful. He was out of shape. He was never competent. Yeah, he had a howitzer for a right arm, but he was a brutal quarterback. So it's Russell Wilson, it's Ryan Leaf, it's Andre Bruce, and it is Jamarcus Russell as your biggest busts ever in the NFL draft. Now, there's another one that I wanted to bring up quickly because it's Giants related. You don't look at this as a draft bust as much as it is a massive draft misstep. 1981. The number one pick in the draft is owned by the New Orleans Saints, and they're uncertain what direction to go in. Do we take the running back from South Carolina, or do we take the linebacker from North Carolina? Well, thank God, and thanks to George Young and the Giants organization and everybody out there, that the New Orleans Saints decided to take George Rogers, running back, who was a good NFL player, number 1 overall. Number 2, the Giants ran up to the podium, took Lawrence Taylor, and the rest is history. All right. So Niners on Sunday, 1 o'clock. Now, mind you, the Giants have 9 remaining games. Every game they play is at 1 o'clock on a Sunday, except for the Monday night of Thanksgiving. The Monday night of Thanksgiving weekend, the Giants go on the road to Foxborough and take on the Patriots, which, as I sit here thinking about it, now I realize it's going to be a very late night for all of us. So when the season started, you did not have this game as a win. You saw George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, and Ricky Pearsall, and Fred Warner. Thought to yourself, we don't match up with this team. They were just taken to school by Houston. Now, Houston's defense is, if not elite, maybe one notch below elite. But the Niners are not a great team. I don't know that the Giants win this game, but like I said earlier when we went through the remainder of their schedule, I think this is a winnable football game for the Giants. How about after the Eagles win? Did you think the Giants could win this game? Yeah. When Scadaboo was healthy and Dart was playing at that level, you had this idea that maybe we can win this football game. You've kind of tempered your excitement a little bit. I worry, and I hope I'm wrong, that we don't look back. And again, the Giants weren't going to do anything grand. And even when they beat Philadelphia in the Thursday night, I sat here and I was ecstatic, and we were screaming and yelling and just as happy as we could possibly be. And I sat here and I told each and every one of you, be excited with that win. They're not going to the playoffs. They're not doing magical things. But I worry that we're going to get to the end of the season and say, man, that fourth quarter against the Broncos, that was that, like line in the sand of it was going pretty well until then, and then it fell off a cliff. I hope that's not the case because that fourth quarter, 33 points, blowing the lead over and over and over again. That's tough to get over. And how do you feel now? I think you feel okay. I think that you look at this team and you have hope in Jackson Dart. I think you have uncertainty when it comes to the head coach. I think you probably don't like the defensive coordinator. I think the offensive line has been better than you anticipated. I think, at some point, the attrition on this team. I mean, how many guys that you thought and were in the process of having real impact on this team can you lose and keep your head above water? I mean, to lose 3/4 of your starting secondary when it wasn't great to begin with is tough to get up from. To lose your starting running back who gave you juice and energy is tough to get up from. To lose your everything wide receiver is like at some point you can't take on that much water if you're in the boat. So we'll find out if Flott's going to play. We'll see if Holland's going to play. We know Scadaboo's not. We know Adebo's not. We know Neighbors is not. And we'll see if Bellinger does. But that's the thing. If the Giants were fully healthy, I think it'd look a little different. But unfortunately, they are all sorts of banged up right now. So we'll be on Friday. We'll do this all over again. This apparently special little emojis that you get if you become a member. So to everyone that's a member, we thank you. And I'm sure the special emojis will now bring new people in on YouTube. Like us, subscribe to us. It's important to us. Currently, we're over 2,600, 2,642. So we're very excited by that. Instagram, TikTok, at DR Giants Obsession. On Twitter, you can follow us on Twitter at DRNYGO. Also, questions, comments on Twitter. We will revisit those on Friday of this week. And on Spotify, Dave Rothenberg's Giants Obsession. Guys, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll be back Friday at 1. We'll do this all over again. And then it's the Giants and the Niners Sunday, 1 o'clock from MetLife. This has been just another garden variety edition of Dave Rothenberg's Giants Obsession. So if you like that live stream, check out this video or the other live streams. And of course, don't forget to subscribe.